the Name of the Grandfather is very creative, but kind of terrible. I'm also not convinced the writers of this episode completely know the difference between Northern Ireland and Ireland, or the Republic of Ireland, because they definitely went to the Blarney Stone and Giant's Causeway in what felt like the same day. And that's just not happening. This is the 14th episode of the 20th season of The Simpsons, directed by Ralph Sosa and Mike B. Anderson, and I want to point out one thing before we go any further. I'm not Irish. A lot of people think I am because I have a hybrid Scottish-English accent, and it does often come across as Irish. Sometimes I can hear it too. But I just want to point out that I'm not Irish, so I can't exactly say I found this offensive, but honestly, of all of the episodes where the Simpsons have gone to a different culture or to a different country, this one is the most stereotypical. And some of the stereotypes are a bit extreme. Some of them not so much. And if you're going to have fun with things like leprechauns, fair enough. But when it comes to actual stereotypes that are not very kind, it really pushed the boat out and went really far with quite a few of them. And yeah, I'm not personally offended. I'm not Irish, but I was just really surprised by just how far they took it. However, I did take offense at Lisa's pronunciation of Ulysses. Don't pronounce it Ulysses. Please don't pronounce it Ulysses. It's Ulysses. The emphasis is on the U. Please. At least when you're referring to Joyce's work, as was the case in this. But hurrah for the mention of James Joyce, I guess. But there are definitely quite a few things in this that make me think they needed a couple of Irish people to actually watch the episode before they decided to release it, because there are quite a few things that just didn't work. Homer and Abe, Grandpa Simpson, are in a bar and things get interesting. Well, actually, that's not true. No, they don't. I didn't find it interesting at all. But things get interesting for them, I suppose. And they also found ways to bring in other Simpsons characters, which just seemed ridiculous and pointless. And it's almost like they were saying, hey, we don't have a solid narrative here, so we're going to have to bring in some other characters that you know and love, but we're in Ireland, so we're going to have to find some ludicrous way to make this happen. And it just felt weak, it felt lazy and sloppy. And the entire thing is just absent of any story, really, of any narrative, and instead they've just vomited all of these stereotypes and cliches and just said, well, we'll just make this one long 20-something minute joke about Ireland, and it's just ridiculous and it doesn't make any sense. I'm not offended by the jokes because I'm not Irish, but I think it's a very badly written, badly executed narrative, and it just doesn't work. I think they needed a lot more work on this. They needed a lot more people who actually knew what they were talking about. But even if it was, written by somebody who knows what they're talking about, I still feel like the actual narrative and the events that happen in it are just pretty terrible. There are some good bits of animation. Absolutely, it's well animated. And there was a good bit with Bart and the Blarney Stone. I won't say what exactly happened, but it was, I found it to be alright. But as a rule, I feel like In the Name of the Grandfather was just their way of making fun of Ireland. And while I can take a joke, I would have been okay with that. Maybe I'm not allowed to be okay with that because, again, not Irish. But I would have been okay with that had the narrative actually been decent and had those jokes been woven into a cleverly written narrative. But instead, there's just nothing there, and then you throw in the pronunciation of Ulysses as Ulysses, and I gave up hope. I completely gave up hope. It's a really terrible episode.